Hello, hello. Welcome back to the True Life Experience. This is Travis Eden here, and I have the honor and privilege of interviewing one of my good friends tonight, Larisa Arnold. I met Larisa when I was working in ECMC, a nonprofit in downtown Minneapolis, and me and her really connected on many topics. I know she is huge into wellness. She is currently a wellness coach, and she does modeling, and she coaches models too. So she has an interesting background already. I am super excited to get into a lot of topics tonight with her. Larisa, welcome.
Hey Travis, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for
Hey,
having me here, and I'm so excited to get into everything. And hi, everyone.
hell yeah, man. Like, hey, what do you do and why do you do it?
Yes. So currently, I do modeling. So I've been modeling for about 7 years now, and that kind of just started with just I mean, it was always an interest of mine growing up, but I got approached one day in the mall and I met with the guy who owned an agent. And then from there, it was just like, oh, I can actually kind of like do this and do what I love and take pictures. And so I got signed with a few different agencies in Minneapolis and in Atlanta, which is where I live right now in Atlanta, Georgia. I also do model coaching. So it kind of helps me to serve back and help like youth from about like ages 8 to about 18. But also I have a modeling and well-being podcast where I can kind of just broadly help other people that are interested in modeling or that are struggling with that. And not only that, but just really help people get resources when it comes to wellness, because I feel like in the modeling industry, there's a lot of pressure. You get told no a lot. There could be a lot of like internal things that develop, even subconsciously, when you're going throughout your modeling journey. And then plus, I just feel like we just need more light in the world. So I'm like, I'm just going to create this podcast just to kind of share that light and cross in like both paths for people that may not be into modeling and want to check it out and say like, oh my gosh, cool, she's talking about more than just being a model. And then I'm going into wellness coaching as well. So it kind of has, like you said, it's a very interesting background because it's like the modeling, the model coaching, and then also kind of the wellness coaching where I'm really helping women, gain deeper self-love, because that's something that I always struggle with. And thankfully, modeling really helped me to gain some of that confidence in myself and healing. And I mean, it's just a whole journey. But in a nutshell, a wellness coach, model coach, and a model is where I'm at right now.
That's a lot. That's fucking
Mhm.
badass.
Yeah.
What are so you kind of like hinted on that, but just out of curiosity, from what you see, what are like some of the internal struggles that models face?
Mm. Yeah, so I think first is going to be body acceptance. I do feel like the industry has become way more inclusive of different body types, shapes, heights, and everything. So like, you see on runway nowadays people that are like 5'5", right, or 5'6" on the runway, but there's still this pressure to kind of like have a certain type of body in order to kind of model or take pictures, or people feeling self-conscious because they're not tall or they don't have long legs or they're not the standard sizes of 0 to 4, right? So I think that's a big thing. And it kind of ties into like self-love as well. I just feel like there's just a strong tie to all the selves, self-esteem, self-confidence, like all of that. That, if you're being told no, or, if depending on like who's around your circle, if they don't believe in you or they feel like you don't fit the standard quote unquote model look, then that might eat at your self-esteem and how you kind of show up. And so I think those are a few kind of internal struggles that models do face.
Yeah, yeah, and that's totally understandable too. It kind of sounds like rejection is a major thing in the modeling
Yeah.
industry, and it's a little bit deeper because it's not like you got rejected from a job just because your resume isn't there. You got rejected for your body or you got to
Yes.
reject it for how you look, and that can hurt. Like
Yeah.
you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I can totally understand why that could be a difficult thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You really have to have thick skin, and it takes a while for you to kind of get used to just get used to the game, like the industry, because it's like you have to really learn how to like take a note and then just like move on and say like, oh, like I'm just not the look that they're looking for in this moment, but it doesn't mean that it can't change in the future, right? But when you're really freshly into the industry, you really think like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me? Like, is it because I'm this? Is it because I'm that? Like, so you really have to kind of like learn how to separate like your self-critic voice and then just saying like, oh, your look as a model is business, like your body is your brand. And I talk about that a lot of what that means, but it is your brand. I mean, that's why we model, is to see people on pictures and stuff, right, and represent certain things. So
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely love that too. And what you're saying right there, it kind of reminds me of dating in a lot of sense too.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just like, and I refer this back a lot, where it's just like, yeah, like not everyone's going to say yes to you. Like, and that's totally fine. Like, no matter how much you work on yourself, no matter how good you look, someone's going to say no.
Yeah.
Like, and not taking that personally, like that can be difficult, especially when you're just like first starting out, without a doubt. Of course, you can kind of take it personally, but kind of take a step back and look at it objectively and be like, no, it's just not what they're looking for. And maybe
Yeah.
it'll probably be a yes in the future. Just right now, it's not a yes. And that's totally fine.
Yeah. And then honestly, too, like it just might not be the right opportunity for you. Like I'm a big believer that when one door closes, another one opens. So yes, you may not have gotten this gig or this job or, got accepted to this audition, but like the next opportunity is going to be perfect for you. And you're going to be like, oh, thank God I didn't get that other one. So there's a right time, place for everything, just like with life, same thing in the model game.
Yeah, for sure. And you said you really developed like some thick skin too. Like, how did you
Mhm.
develop that thick skin?
Oh my gosh, just staying consistent and you just got to keep going. I would say just learning again how to separate between like, is this personal or is it business? And if you get rejected, like giving yourself self-compassion. So I know we talked about that a lot in the past, but like I think self-compassion was really big for me. When it comes to rejection, we get told no, right? But we're only stopped at no. There's like nothing after that. And so like the self-compassion is like what you do after you're told no. Like, okay, no, and that's all right. Like everyone gets rejected, a human experience, right? Like there's going to be another opportunity for you and you just got to keep going, like feel your feels, because I think that's important. But then also just make sure that you're giving yourself grace and knowing that, you know, when you keep going, something else better is gonna come up, or a different opportunity. And so it's just about just having a positive outlook on things, but also not like, robbing yourself from feeling, because I think that's really important.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to ignore that. You feel like, if you feel away, you feel away, okay? But also give yourself space to kind of process that, and then also like say like, okay, give yourself that motivation and pump yourself up to just be prepared and learn from that experience. So I think that's a lot of the work that I feel like I've done a lot in anything that I do, and in modeling, when it comes to like rejection and getting some thick skin.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of sounds like it in some ways, like kind of parenting yourself, basically. Whereas
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you got this little child inside of you where it's just like, I just got rejected and it sucks. And it's like, hey, I love you. Like, no matter what, I love you. It's totally fine. Like, hey, I'm take care of you and everything. Just kind of coach yourself through it and be like, it's not personal. It's not personal, but that doesn't mean you can't be sad. Like, feelings are
Yeah.
feelings after all. They're meant to be felt. But it's just like, hey, like eventually, like you put so much self-love into yourself, that builds thick skin in itself.
Yeah, that's so true. When you are really like intentional about your self self-care and self-love, you're like most times, like, there's gonna be times where you're still gonna feel the rejection, but sometimes you can be like, oh, okay, next. So you're just like, you just start to trust yourself and believe in your journey, like even more. I feel like once you get closer to yourself, because you know yourself, you know your abilities, you know you can do it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I absolutely love that too. And I imagine too, like there's got to be like a level of responsibility too, where it's just like if you're getting rejected so much, okay, am I doing something wrong? Is my resume wrong? Basically, it's just not. I'd imagine that would probably be hard too to kind of look at yourself too and be like, okay, this is happening over and over and over and over again too. This is a pattern. Got to be something here. Like I got to take responsibility for something there. I imagine that must be hard too to kind of be like, okay, what can I take responsibility here for? And how
Yeah.
do I not take this personally, basically?
Yeah, you definitely got to look in the mirror for sure and like have some level of honesty. Like, if you're doing something, I mean, I feel like we all kind of know deep inside, like, oh, okay, I feel like there's something I might be doing wrong. Or maybe you like just hear kind of feedback. Like, I feel like there's nothing wrong with asking, like, oh, what could I have done better? And I feel like a lot of like different agencies or, something like that would just let whether it's like, oh, we're just, yeah, oh my gosh, so horrible. But I was talking to this model and then she was trying to apply for different agencies. And I think one in Iowa, she's in Minnesota. The Iowa agency were like, we have too many people that look like you, which I don't know how I feel about that because from a DEI perspective, I'm like, but I'm sure Iowa still needs a little bit more diversity. But it's like little things like that where you're like, oh, okay, well, this has nothing to do with me. Um, but oh yeah, looking in the mirror, got off track a little bit. Yeah, just being honest with yourself and saying like, okay, what can I do better? Like doing research, right? You have to like go out and seek the information. Like what YouTube videos can I watch of like successful models or people that are doing better than me on podcasts, right? There's a few different modeling podcasts out there. Like, how can you just gain different perspectives that will help you just sharpen your skills? Because at the end of the day, like no matter how experienced you are in anything, there's always going to be ways to improve. And if you're getting told no, 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 you're like, okay, I got to do something. One thing that I love to do anytime I'm on set is I love to just like talk to different models or talk to different actresses and just to kind of see like how are they getting gigs or like what are they doing to audition or how are their setups for like self tapes and stuff, and it really makes a big difference. You're like, oh my gosh, that one small thing could just be like robbing some of your opportunities. One tiny thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of it sooner? So yeah.
Yeah, so that really hits a spot too and growing a business too. Well, I
Yeah.
realized like the best way I found clients was just networking, just going to different networking events to say, hey, I do this.
Yeah.
I help people with X, Y, and Z, and here's why I do it. And I'm just like, why am I on social media? Like I used to think like, oh, like that's what coaches do. They're always on social media. And don't get me wrong, like that's good to have, like it's a resume. But get out in public. That's where I realized like that's where
Yes.
my strength was. And yeah, it's just so funny. I'm asking other coaches too, hey, how are you getting clients? How are you doing this? How are you building a podcast and stuff like that? It's so funny just asking that general question to someone else in your field makes like
Mhm.
a room of
Yeah.
difference.
And people love to share. People, I mean, for the most part, people love to share, especially if you're asking about them, like centering the conversation about them. Like they're gonna like, oh yeah, like I do this and this and this and all of that. And those little nuggets do make a big difference in your
Yeah.
journey. Like I always have this philosophy, like we need each other. Like I feel like I've been learning that more and more as I'm maturing, is like, there's no way that we can get certain opportunities if it weren't for somebody, some soul on earth, you know? So just like leaning into people and know that you don't always have to do it alone and you're not alone in any kind of journey that you're on.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Like, I totally agree with that too. And that's honestly been a lot of my work too. It's like, you don't have to do this
Mhm.
alone. Why are you doing this alone? And it's just a
Yeah.
habit in my own kind of brain just to do it alone. But the moment, it's kind of funny, the moment we start fighting against our habits, especially ones that don't serve us, is the moment we start living, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love your story where you said there how you got into modeling. So this guy approached you in a mall. What?
I know. I was working. So my first job that I got out of graduation, I was an assistant manager at Hollister at the Mall of America in Minnesota, and it was so crazy. Like I always tell people, like so busy, so hectic, pre-COVID especially. And so I was ringing up a guy, you know, and he was like an older gentleman, really nice. And he was just like, "Hey, I really like your look. Have you like thought about getting into modeling?" I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure." But so he gave me his business card and then we met. And then we just kind of talked through it, like, you know, measurements, like what are modeling models doing to stay healthy and stuff like that. And then like although I didn't get signed through his agent, I that was like the kickstart of my career where I like actually took it serious. So and that's kind of like where my wellness journey sort of started from like a physical wellness perspective. Like I started working out more. I started, you know, eating so clean. And then I would say maybe a year after I met him and started to taking things seriously, I had my first fashion show. And then from there, you know, I was like spending maybe a year building up my portfolio. Then I got signed to a few agencies in Minneapolis. And yeah, it's kind of like when you put that energy out there, it's like a little ripple effect. And then things just kind of come together if it's meant for your, you know, journey and everything. And ever since I, you know, never looked back.
I love that. I love that. And kind of sound like and modeling was the tipping point to getting you more into wellness. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Yes. It really was a bridge for me to like understand like what it actually was. Like I always knew about like, yeah, you have to take care of yourself, you know, and like I think that back when I was in high school and stuff, there were some conversations about mental health, but I wouldn't say as much as it is now today. Um, but like I said, I always like struggled growing up with I always call it the five selves. My self-confidence, self-esteem, self-belief, self-love, and there's one more self. But I struggle with that a lot. And I think it kind of stemmed from childhood, right? Like a lot of our blessings and curses come from our childhood. But just like wanting to please my parent right all the time, like crying if I got like a B on freaking papers or tests, and having this like pressure, and then feeling like, you know, I wasn't fitting into certain crowds in high school, like experiencing some bullying in middle school where it really tackled my self-confidence and my image and stuff. And so it kind of stemmed from there. So I one thing that I'm just so shocked at is that I even like got into modeling in the first place, because I'm like, Larissa, you this old version of you would have never thought like today that you will be doing something like this. And it just shows you the power of, you know, I believe in God and stuff and spirit, but it shows you the power of like what God forces you to do to or creates this path for you to just blossom into this person in your power, something that was already within you, but like these external forces, you know, just like telling you that you're not good enough, and you start to believe that, especially at a young age, you know, you're really a sponge. And so yeah, so I would say modeling is really when it kind of started to take off, and I started to really like identify like, oh, what is wellness, like how I'm feeling from certain things that I'm doing and practices, and you know, like it kind of, yeah, just like moving forward, I would say like I strengthened my self-love even more um when and I always like share this, but not always, but I would share like, when I separated from my 8-year relationship a couple years ago. And when that happened, I was like, you know what? I was like, I will do anything in the world to feel loved by myself. I was like, I will never feel like this low again. Cause I even think like within that time frame, I was still battling like my identity within myself. And I, wasn't as empowered in certain ways as I probably should have as a woman and stuff. And yeah, so just a little, extra vulnerability there for you. But I would say like since a couple years ago, well, I would say in 2020, I started therapy just to kind of like start to kind of identify my voice. Like I always like felt like I was a problem in certain things. I always felt like there was something wrong with me. Like I was doing a lot of things wrong. Like I knew that I was like excelling like at work and stuff, but like, at home, I'm like, I just feel there was just like a disconnect. And so my therapist was really like working through me and helping me find resources and, grace and stuff like that. And then, you know, then after I separated from a relationship, that's when I really started to put pressure, like really challenge myself. And then like ever since, my life has just been like so amazing and scary and faith-based and so much better. Like, and but I always tell people like if it wasn't for that experience, I just wouldn't be who I am today. And I feel like it really strengthened who I am today. So we need those hard experiences. We're forced to heal and trust and love again, love ourselves, and just serve and like figure out our purpose. And I feel like I'm finally getting into my purpose from all my life experiences up until this point.
That's wonderful, man. I love that, and thank you for sharing that with that vulnerability too. Yeah, I've helped a lot of clients too get over relationships, and relationships like when they break up, it can be really traumatizing. It can be
Yeah.
because it's just like, man, like this person was here all the time, like, and once again, it's just a habit, and then you're kind of forced to reduce this habit. But it can also be
Yeah.
a huge gift, both getting into one and leaving one. It shows you so much about yourself, so
Mhm.
much. And what I love about your story right there is like it'll showing you like, hey, I have this kind of blind spot where I need to send love. And not just like I need to like drink a little bit on the plant, like some water. I'm just like, I need to like shove a ton of water into this plant right now and watch it grow. I'm just like, I absolutely love that. And that shows really good awareness too of like, hey, like there needs to be more here. Like without a doubt, it can't be like this anymore. I love that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, even when you think about little things like you said, you're with your partner for so long, like you forgot what it means to enjoy your own company. So like one of the things that I made myself do, and I know you mentioned this a lot in the past, but like I went to Florida, right? In Miami. I made myself go on a solo trip, like to start to get comfortable in my own skin, in my own body in a bathing suit, in my own ability to network and talk to strangers and just kind of let go and be more loving and outgoing and just put myself in uncomfortable positions to grow, because that's when we grow the most, is when we're in those uncomfortable positions. And so I went a little extreme, but I was like, I just feel like I just need to go, like, let me go on like a trip by myself. And I had so much anxiety, Travis, like in the airport, because like that was my first time like flying like alone, like not with somebody with me. And I've never like did a solo trip before in another state. And so ever since then it just starts to build your confidence in like what you can do. And I would say that was one experience that allowed me to kind of continue to work on that wellness piece of like self-love and trust and experiences. It was really fun.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Solo trips are the best trips. I love them. I absolutely love them. And don't get me wrong, I'm in a relationship right now, and everything. I know I love it. I learned a lot about myself. I still am, because God, you just learn so much about yourself in a relationship. But there are sometimes where I'm just like, man, I miss those solo trips. I miss it was just like me, Trav, and a backpack. Like
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. You do get to know more about yourself too, and in a lot of ways too. I feel like when I did my solo trips, similar to you, like it really got me into being more extroverted, being like the child that I never was, because I was such a shy child and I was always keep myself. I'm a natural extrovert. So I was just like being the exact opposite of that, and like really engrave that in my brain. Like, yeah, solo trips, yeah, they definitely help with that. Of course, many other things too, but yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So I really want to ask you this too. This is one question I did write down. How would you define wellness?
Oh, good question. Um, I think to me, wellness means, so I always have this saying, that it means to design like the best or healthiest version of yourself. And it's so open because that, to me, and what I feel like what is the best version of myself could be different from what that means to you. And so I think whatever is going to gear you towards stronger self-love, acceptance, um, and there was one other thing that I was going to say. Can't remember the other thing, but yeah, self-love and acceptance. I would say wellness to me means to design the best version of yourself, do things that's going to bring you closer to loving yourself, accepting yourself, and embracing yourself. And I feel like there's a lot to unpack there because like even within that, it's like, okay, what does self-love mean? It's open for a reason. I just think that whatever is going to make you experience joy and love, like that to me is like wellness, because everything is intertwined. Like we talk about wellness, financial, physical, social, emotional, spiritual, all of those are intertwined. So when one is lacking, I'm pretty sure all of them are going to be a little, on the other side of the teeter totter, right? And so, what can we do to listen to our bodies, to be intuitive, feed ourselves to things that we feel are going to make us feel well, and if that means, for me, I know for me, like I said, just the self-love is big for me. But like I think as of late, my current version of myself, wellness to me means nutrition and like getting back with movement. I feel so alive. I feel so good about my body, my mind, the nutrition. I can feel the different sparks in my brain. I'm so much more alive. I'm waking up earlier at like 6 o'clock in the morning each day, right? To just get my day started. And so it's such an interesting question to me, because I feel like it's so based on like, what do you need right now to fuel your soul and your body that will make you feel well and loved for and cared for. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, there is a lot to unpack there too. I totally agree. Moving your body definitely is wellness to me in some way, shape, or form. I actually recently canceled my gym membership. So I've
Mm,
been an avid gym goer for like probably 10 plus years now. And I realized like this is just so robotic to me. Like this isn't fun. Like I feel like a robot in here doing the thing like I go here after work and lift weights. Cool. So one thing I've been doing is like getting more like kind of steel mace workouts, like having my own workouts at home, like yoga. Like of course I still run. I'm always going to.
mhm.
But at the same time too, I know some people are just like, I love the gym. Like, and that's totally fine. I feel like wellness is like, man, being honest and you doing you. You doing you. A
Yeah.
lot of things in personal development and life and everything is just like, man, you do you, Just don't hurt anyone else. Like,
Right. You will.
literally. And yeah,
Yes.
even on nutrition too. So I took a diet from coffee this past two
Mm.
weeks, and that was needed. I don't know about you, but I'm a coffee fanatic. Where it's just like if I lose
You
one
are
day of
Travis.
coffee, if I lose one day of coffee, I am absolutely useless if I don't have a cup of coffee. And it's terrible. Like I don't like it. My body, my mind's just dependent on it. I did, no coffee for like 2 weeks, and I'm went over my mom's, and she drinks coffee like just no tomorrow. She's like drinks like 5 cups a day. And she's like, "You want a
Oh
cup of
my gosh.
coffee?" I was like, "No, mom, I don't." She's like, "Why not?" I'm just like, "I'm telling you, like, this isn't good for my body right now." She's like, "Well, it's fine for me." As she like shakes, which it's totally
Oh,
fine. Like, you do you, mom, but it's just like, bro, it ain't for me. So I love what you're saying right there. It sounds like wellness is like, being honest with yourself and you doing you, really.
yeah. And I will also add, as I'm like getting older, I'm finding that social wellness is becoming more of a like priority for me. Like it kind of goes back to what I said, like, we need each other. I'm finding that I'm starting to value relationships more and the ability to kind of connect deeper with people, which is one of the reasons why I created the podcast, too, to just have deeper avenues of just real conversations and, having those people that are going to support you through thick and thin and during your hard times and your good times. It really does make a difference on my wellness. So I feel like, as I would say over the last maybe couple years, I definitely think that a part of what wellness means to me today is big on social connection too. I mean, I do need my like space alone. I do need my little space alone because I'm like, it's just too much, too many people. But having that connection with people makes a huge difference for me. It can have like a little fuel. I get some boost of energy, but I can't be around it too much. I'm not that extroverted.
Do
Mhm.
you feel like as you get older, as I see this myself, has your friend group gotten bigger or has it gotten smaller?
I feel like it's always been small. Yeah, but I would say for the most part smaller. um I don't have a ton of what I would classify as friends, right? I have a lot of acquaintances, but like then you have like your friends, and then you have like your real friends that have known you for like ever. So I have like maybe like two or three like very close friends that I like talk to on a consistent basis. One of them being my sisters. So I don't know if that counts, but it counts. So it's definitely gotten smaller. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's maturity in itself too. I feel like when you're younger, like yeah, it's kind of like a social norm to be friends with, a lot of people, like being popular and everything. But it's just like, no, man, the real people are only friends with people like no, certain type of people. I know for myself, I can't really be close friends with anyone that I can't be negative around. If I even want to call
Yeah.
it, negative, like just sad or just angry or something like that. If I can't be
Yes.
like that around you, I'm like, you only want the
I
positive, man. Like,
gotta protect our energy too. Let's look.
yeah.
That's a big thing too. Like we
Mhm.
really gotta surround ourselves like with good like people that are gonna kind of be real and then be positive at the same time, because especially when you have like different ideas and stuff, like people come from a genuine place about certain things, but at the same time it's like we need those like people that kind of can, even if they don't see the vision, they're able to still support you and offer support in a way, and that's super huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know that
Mhm.
people got your back, basically.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, without
Yeah.
that, whether it be family or it be friends, your sister, whoever got your back. Like
Yeah.
that's social wellness without a doubt. I totally agree with that.
Mhm. Yes.
So wrapping up here pretty soon, but I'm just gonna right ball this question. What would you say your top three books are?
Oh, my top three books. Oh, okay. Ooh, that's a good question. I've been reading a lot more lately too. Um, hmm. Oh, I just finished over winter break. I read Relationship Goals by Mike Todd. He's a pastor at Transformation Church. It's such a good book. Oh my gosh. Like I love that he talks more about different levels of relationship, whether you're like single and or like engaged or dating or whatever. So like I love that. Um I really like On Purpose by Jay Shetty. So I love Jay Shetty. I listen to his podcast all the time. And then what is another book? And then I'm gonna go with Self-Compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff. Those are one of my three favorites. Favorite books.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. I love how you said nonfiction. Like, so not many people know this, but of course read on nonfiction. I'm really big in a lot of things, but my favorite 100% book is The Great Gatsby. Like, I
Mm.
absolutely adore that story. I don't know what it is about me. It just brings up something where I'm just like, man, that was a great story. Like,
Yeah, I just read I have it right here. It's you probably heard of it too, where the crawdads sing, and they have a movie on Netflix, but it was a very interesting story. It's like back in the 19 kind of like 20s ish, but really good fiction story. But yeah, trying to mix those in too, and not be all like serious and self-growth all the
of
time.
course, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah, you need yeah, you definitely need to, Netflix and chill and read a not a fiction book every now and
yeah,
then.
yes, yes.
That's wellness in itself.
Exactly. Balance, baby.
Larissa, this has been awesome, man. How can people find more of you?
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok because who isn't, right? I'm on Instagram and TikTok as at Rissa Snugs, RISASNUGGS. You can also follow my modeling and wellbeing podcast. So it's literally called the Modeling and Wellbeing Podcast by Larisa Arnold. So I'm dropping some gems for aspiring or experienced models, and then also for people that want to continue to grow in their wellness. And then I don't know if people add people on Facebook anymore. I feel like that's becoming ancient, but I'm on Facebook as Larissa Arnold, so just my first and last name. But I would love to connect with all of you. And thank you, Travis, for having me here.
Yeah, this has been a pleasure. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see y'all later.